This is the Rise to Triumph podcast, and my name is Crystal Torres. I am on a mission to discover the key components of success of today's top TV and film industry professionals. If you are interested in becoming a working TV film professional or intrigued by the journey and are looking to surround yourself with the best industry minds, then this, my friends, is for you. Each week, we will have a chance to listen in on conversations that I have with top industry professionals and explore the behind the scenes of what it truly takes to rise to triumph. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Rise to Triumph podcast, and my name is Crystal Torres. Today we speak to Yvonne Jones. But first, if you missed the last episode, we spoke with Josara Gennaro, and she speaks with us about balancing life and acting career and all of that amazing stuff. And it's really just understanding how to balance your lifestyle when things kind of go a little haywire, having highs, having lows in the industry, and how to maintain that and sustain a career of longevity. So check that out after this. But today, right now, we are speaking with Yvonne Jones, and Yvonne speaks to us. I wanted to speak with her specifically because, speaking for myself, I know that when you do short films, you maybe had some success, done some festival stuff, but you can't get those, get into those bigger casting director rooms to get some of those first initial co-star credits on your resume to kind of validate yourself in the industry. And if you're an actor, you know what I'm talking about. So I talked to her about, what did she do and how did she get there to get some of those first initial credits. She got her first co-star on Hand of God, an Amazon Prime series. Also, she has another co-star on the Lifetime movie Searching for Neverland, Michael Jackson. And yeah, so just kind of like the career and the steps that she's taking to move forward in her career. So yeah, we get into a lot of other stuff, but that's pretty much the gist. So a lot of really good gems though. So enjoy, guys. Peace.
So I kind of want to get an idea, right? What are the steps that you're doing like on a daily, weekly, monthly basis that right now or, that are kind of like propelling you in this forward motion in your career?
Well, what I do is I kind of try to evaluate what I have currently. So if I have certain things on my reel, or if I have like this kind of representation or certain headshots, I try to evaluate and see, okay, now what area have I not maybe touched on in a little while that I can adjust or improve on or better. And so when I booked Hand of God, I was actually starting to think about getting a manager. I didn't have a manager yet. And thankfully I booked Hand of God, and I decided that would be a really good opportunity. My first co-star on, on a show. It is on Amazon Prime, but it does have some familiar names and stuff. So I figured I would use that as a platform to reach out and find a manager, and it actually worked really well because I was able to get a manager. So I try to examine. I think right now I'm looking at my reel footage, as we were talking about off the line, but I'm looking at my reel footage now that I've figured out I figured out more what my brand is, and I've realized, okay, my reel footage does show me acting well, but does it show me specifically in the brand that other people see me in when I walk through the door? Are
Got
they
it.
like, oh, and so it doesn't currently, I don't believe.
So how is
I
that
just need to fix
process?
that.
Because I mean, if someone's like just getting into acting, like all you're thinking about is like the love, the craft, like, oh my God, like I just want to act, and then
Yeah.
you realize, or hopefully you will realize that you are in fact a product. You have
Yes.
to, basically package yourself and
Yeah.
decide, okay, how do I see, especially I guess if you're considered a character actor, it's like how
Uh-huh.
in the character world will I be portrayed on televisions or on
Yes.
film? So how is that process, or how was that process of finding that out that
Still
you have to
finding.
do that, and then
Oh, I see. Yeah.
starting to do that process?
Um, well, I think what happens with a lot of actors, especially if you come from college and you've done everything, like you've been everybody on stage, uh, it can be a little bit of a shot to your ego when you're like, wait, what? You want to put me in a box?
Yeah.
Um, but I think once you get past that, which most of us do really quickly, because actors are so resilient, once you realize that's not the case, then I think it actually makes things easier for me. It's almost like being organized. Um, about your life.
Ah.
So all of a sudden, for example, I could say, I never thought about it before, but I did start focusing on my brand a lot. Bonnie Gillespie has a book called Self Management for Actors. She did this great exercise with us where uh, it was like, I don't know, it was like a little quick course or something in 12 days online only. And we were supposed to get a headshot and post it on our Facebook and ask people to just put one descriptive word that they think of, adjective, that they think of when they see the picture. So once I got a big list, thankfully, all my friends, and then also people who I didn't know within this chat that we had, I put them together, and there's this really cool something cloud. I have to find out what it is, but I think it's like a word cloud. And boom, it like pops up with the word that you got the most, and it makes that the biggest word in an actual visual image of all the words. So it's like a
Oh.
cloud or any kind of shape you want, full of words, like made up out of words, the words that people have used to describe you, and it makes the ones bigger that described you. So mine was sassy. I
Ah.
was like,
And then
okay.
you're like, oh, that's
Mine
so
was,
typical, right? Like,
I know.
so then what was that first reaction when you like see this big word of sassy pop up?
Sassy. I know. Sassy. At first it was like, actually, I was just grateful. I was like, this actually gives me some direction. I was like, okay, I can't deny how people feel.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could say and be like, oh, I'm so offended. I'm sassy. Like there's a lot of things that can go through your head. I'm black. So I could be like, am I sassy because I'm a black woman?
Yeah, yeah.
Or something like that. And it might be the case, honestly, because you have a lot of stereotypes that play that it's almost like stereotype and brand are like cousins.
What?
you
That
know,
is such a
um,
good thing. Yeah. I mean, not a
I
good
feel
thing, but
like
like
they
I like
are.
that description.
Yeah, because it's stereotypes are like, thoughts held by the majority of the population. Well, who's your audience? The majority of the population. So you have to be okay with the fact that you're dealing with people.
Yes.
um, and then I did think like, okay, I can personally sometimes have moments of sassiness. But also I got right under that, which was nice. I got like strong, sexy, um, in control,
Mm.
like a lot of things that I already knew. People had always told me in school and out of school, like, you have a lot of strength on stage, you come up really strong, and so I just kind of combined them all together, and I thought, okay, it's good to know because now I can apply this to headshots, I can apply this to my reel, like I can apply this to my web page, like just make sure that everything matches sassy, strong, in control, confident, stuff like that. So actually what was very cool, I just watched Logan with my
Oh, how
husband
is
and our
it? Is
friend.
it good?
Oh, I'm a huge X-Men fan. I'm such a nerd.
Yeah.
It was fabulous. It was so great. It was dark like they said it would be, but it was just perfect.
Mm.
What I was doing though that I've never done before, and I was like, this is so good. um, Me and a girlfriend of mine are looking to build up our reel in different ways. And we've been talking about our brand. And I literally just took, because mine is my focus is like action, and I kind of have a build of someone who would be in action. And so I literally just wrote down in my phone with the light really on low, I promise, every movie preview that came through. So it was like Alien, because it's brand, like they've already branded their stuff. So if you go to a movie, I think it's a great exercise. I just thought about it. I'll probably share it on my YouTube channel. But if you go to a movie that you know is your brand, if you're comedy, right? And so you're going to, I don't know, it's super bad. That's so old. But if you're going to comedy that's totally your brand, then I would just look at all the previews that come before that, because those should ideally be very similar in your brand, because that's what they do. They know who the audience is that's out there, and they know, hey, if you're watching this, you're probably going to be excited to watch this, you know?
Got it.
So I just took down, like, it was like Alien, it's like the new Alien movie. There's a movie called Life that's like astronauts, and I think Charlize Theron is in the new Fast and Furious movie that's coming out. Again, action, and she's like this, just like she always is, because I love her, like this dominating force in like a nice suit, who's gorgeous, you know, but strong. And I was like, that's perfect. Like I could totally be the woman in control in a scene that we put up. And I just looked at her surroundings, her environment, to give me like an example of like where or what we could shoot. Like, and so that was kind of something exciting. I feel like once you get out of the idea of like, don't put me in a box, it actually gets you very specific and very honed in to your brand, so that you can create a product that is specifically received very well. And then from there, like, look at Jim Carrey. He finally got a chance to be serious. You know, there's so many actors who start off in a brand and then they get to branch out once they're in there, you know?
Yeah, I think talking about Superbad, the guy that played McLovin, you know, it's like you know, I
Yeah.
saw something about, you know, that he, you know, like branded himself, like people saw that he was like that geeky, awkward kind of guy, and then he
Yeah.
used that through comedy, and then now he's like working his way to do like really intense, like dark stuff. But
Exactly.
he made a whole crap load of money, because anytime and everyone thought about him,
The like sidekick, the like
yeah,
quirky.
like if anyone thought of that type of person, he was that go-to. So
Yeah.
that's really good to like know, because I feel
It's kind of like Disney if you think about
uh-huh.
it, because Disney started with all the kids, and it's like it's our go-to for kids.
Yeah,
But then it's like DreamWorks, and it's like Pixar, then it's like, you know, it's like
that's true.
it branches wherever it wants to go.
Yeah. So I guess in a sense it kind of like, if you think about it in that way, like everyone and everything around you has a brand. So it's okay if you're,
Hmm.
you know, putting
Yeah,
yourself in a package, you
because you know where to find you.
know.
They know where to go.
Yeah.
You know, they're
Yeah.
not like, is she kind of an astronaut who could be a grandma, who could be a
No, yeah.
because I really need someone like
It's so
that.
true, because it's like so much of the time, like you said, when you come from theater, you're like, oh, I just want to be ambiguous. You know, like that's like, you know, it's like this nice term where you feel like you could do a little bit of everything, because why not, you know?
Hmm.
But not in this type of business. Not if you're trying to make money off of it.
Right, right.
Yeah. And you had referred to something about your build. Can you talk about that?
Oh yeah. My brand also fits into my body type, I suppose.
Oh,
So
that's okay. I was like, what is she talking about, build?
yeah, my build, not like anything else. It's literally like my physical build, because I kind of have a athletic shape.
Got it.
Um, so, and I'm kind
Mm.
of just a geek, like I said, and have always loved action movies. So yeah, that's kind of like my focus, more than I would say like rom-coms or things like that, you know. So yeah.
No, okay, good,
You know,
good.
and we know that as actors, like we have a certain brand that our body looks like too, which doesn't necessarily put us in a box. Like the nice thing that I love about this season of acting um, is that pretty much with the comedy and stuff out there, like you can go through all genres almost. Like you can still be your brand within all the genres that you love. So you don't have one certain body type anymore in action films, and you don't have one certain body type anymore in rom-coms either. What was her name? We are just talking about her from she's in Spy. I can't believe I just McCarthy.
Yes.
Yes, McCarthy. Jenna McCarthy. Is that her? Am I talking about the wrong McCarthy?
Right now
The
you have
one
me
that's
confused.
that's in Spy and also
Melissa McCarthy.
in Melissa. I think I was like, Jenna McCarthy did
Yeah,
like
she's
the
doing
dating game on
the
MTV.
set on SNL right now with the spinner guy. I think, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's hilarious.
Melissa McCarthy.
I think maybe we're not talking about the same.
Yes.
McCarthy.
No, you are.
Oh, like what?
Yeah, because she was doing Spy. She was
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
Spy, and I
yeah.
just love that she was like the hot girl in that movie, and she like the the physical part is like breaking through boundaries, and I love that. So,
Yeah. And
yes.
well, side note though, but I think I'm almost positive that she produced and like, I mean, I could be completely wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure that she like
Mm.
was one of the executive producers on this and like on that show, on that film or something like that. One of the producers.
Oh, I'm so sure because she's very similar to like um Mindy for the Mindy project, Mindy Kaling, because they put themselves in it and then they also produce it, they'll write it, they'll do something like that as well. And it's just totally changing the mindset of like what our leading ladies look like, what we enjoy watching and putting ourselves into, like, oh, that could be me kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very hands-on.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to the same thing where it's just like, okay, you figure out your brand. She's made a crap load of money, and now she's able to then have the power, and she already has the fan base, so then she can put herself in that leading lady role, and be sexy and fierce in her own way, and people embrace it because now they're like, oh, we love her. It's not like it's not like, who's this random like white woman that's not really actually sexy. She's not a model. It's like, so
Yeah.
but we get her.
It's like
so.
all of a sudden we just love everything about her.
Yeah, no, it's like we're funny.
And I think that's great that people are doing that they're, Viola Davis also has her own production company with her husband now, but did everything monetarily through her acting. So, yeah.
Yeah, and then she's working. Yeah, there's so much. Well, let's talk about, all right, so let's go a little back and like let's just get a little bit of your like background. Like what, like did you go to school? Was there, an education process to becoming an actor? Did you just wake up one morning and, start auditioning? I don't know.
That's so funny. No, I did. I have done a lot of school. I I think I always just really enjoyed performing, as a child. But no, yeah, I love performing. I also love making plays, like having people, my friends and stuff. We would just like improv a play and then do it every Sunday after church. And then, but in school, I didn't want to do it because sounded kind of risky as a major.
Yeah.
So I was a business major for a while. And then I dropped out of school after the first year, and I went back after a year and a half because I tried to be a model and it just was not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
And so I went back to school and I just decided I was going to take a class in everything that I kind of really liked to do to see what I wanted to do. And one of those was acting. And I just had this great experience in class where it literally felt like everyone else had disappeared and I was just completely, immersed in the scene and what was going on between me and the other person as if I was living it, it had those kind of stakes just out of the blue. And once that scene was over and it was like lights on, lights off in the classroom, I was like, holy crap, what was that experience? I have to have that again. It was like a high.
Yeah.
And so I just decided that day I would be a theater major, and it actually worked out great because I started doing what I loved doing. So my grades were like, I was like on the dean's list, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I went to El Camino College when that happened, and then I transferred to Cal State Long Beach, got my bachelor's in theater arts. Then a friend of mine really, really pushed for me to get into, to go for master's in acting. And so I did. I used URTA, which I highly suggest if anyone's interested in a master's program. It's URTA. It's basically just a place. It's a program that you sign up for, and you're able to audition for hundreds of the top acting schools at once. and they have auditions in New York and different places. I went to the one in New York. Funnily enough, I did not pass the first audition,
Oh.
which was so like heartbreaking because I was like dreaming of UCLA and Cal Arts. Those were my dream schools, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna get to see them. And my mom was actually the one. I feel like it's always mom. She was
Mom.
like, honey, just go to this other audition that they were having that was like 30 seconds instead. Oh, I think it's like 1 minute instead of 4 minutes. And people, schools could go there. It was kind of like the alternative one if you didn't pass the initial audition for the big guys, you know, like, oh, if you want to, you could see these guys. They didn't pass, but
Oh.
and I was like, oh, I don't want to go. It's so shameful. But she said, just go. What do you have to lose? So I went, and actually, it was a blessing, a huge blessing. Thanks, Mom, because I got recruited by University of South Carolina, which I had never even considered going to. I didn't apply to nothing. They literally just said like, oh, we saw her, we want her, and funnily enough, for anyone who's like messed up once and they're like, it's over. Because I had already applied to UCLA and Cal Arts individually, I actually got to audition for them, just not with IRTA. Um, I was able to audition with them because I had already requested an audition from my application, and I actually got into both of those schools, which was great. It was I actually got into both of the dream schools that I wanted to, but I ended up going to University of South Carolina
Wow.
because they gave me a great scholarship,
Mm.
and I couldn't deny that, you know. And so I went with them. I loved the program. I have nothing but great things to say about going to grad school because when I got back, I had already been signed with a commercial agent for a while, but being back in a room after you've been through a program like a master's
Yeah.
for 2.5 years, basically, your confidence is killer. You've learned so many new things, and it's palpable in the room. And so I feel like that is something I highly recommend to anybody who's open to. And if not, like if they don't want to do the grad school thing, I'm still taking classes out here. Like I had to take audition classes and stuff. Like just keep training, like all the big actors say, like just keep training, you know. If like Meryl still has a coach, we still need a coach.
Yeah. I hear she gets like
So
a new one every time she shoots something different.
she's just
Yeah.
fabulous. You know, but it's true, like she has not arrived with all of her Oscars and her nominations and her everything. She hasn't arrived yet, and that's a gift in itself to be that humble,
Yeah.
you know. And so I'm like, who am I to be like, oh, I took a Margie Haber class back 2 years ago, I'm good. You know.
Yes.
um
Yes.
so yeah, definitely I have my schooling under me. It also lets me have a side job of teaching, which has been a blessing, of teaching drama to high school students, so I do that too.
That's awesome. That's so awesome.
Yes.
So talk to me about that transition. Like, you know,
Hmm.
you have all this confidence. You're, you know, like coming off of this
Now I have to
master's program.
audition.
You're like, nothing can stop me now. I played all these, you know, Shakespeare roles,
Yeah, like
whatever.
Blanche Dubois
Yeah.
and Lady Macbeth, Lady Anne.
I can do it
Yeah.
all. Give it to me.
Well, I will say a lot of times with the theater programs, their focus is not so much on your auditions in the room for TV and film.
Mhm.
So it can be a little bit of a surprise when you realize the difference, the small little differences of how to audition for TV film and how to audition for commercial. So I actually, my first audition was hilarious because I looked at the camera.
Uh-oh.
So the casting director had to say, please don't look at the camera. Because commercials, you look at the camera. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
And then so I was confident. I was just wrong. And then my second one was, I was not used to so much text because I had done commercial. I wasn't used to doing so much text at one time towards a camera.
Mm.
I was used to doing like a whole play's worth of text, you know, but that's like in a run with someone else on a stage. It's definitely different. Your focal point is to whoever you're talking to. So basically, what I had to do was quickly take, and I did. I took Wendy Davis's. It's like a 12-week course on auditioning in the room, and she has a great program. Highly recommend it. That basically is a crash course on how to audition with the worst sides ever. So it'll be sides that are like, oh, you know, and then she runs into the next room and she rolls on the floor and she jumps through the window. You know, it's
Yeah.
like nobody's expecting you to do that in the room, but you might get a side like that. So then what do you do? And it had a lot to do with playing with your eye line. Maybe I like, you know, not crouch, but kind of like almost squat a little bit to roll to the next side of the camera. And now I'm in another room, or I'll bring like one prop that might help me, like a purse that I can have a moment before with, or a moment after with a phone. I don't know. But never like a whole, gang of props.
Yeah.
You're like weighed down with all the things they're asking you to bring in the side. So it was eye opening. Once I got that, I felt so much more confident in the room. Like, okay, I know it's due. I know where my window is, like my framing is. And so it really helps. So any kind of, and Margie Haber's studio really helps. Any of those classes are great because you just need to know what the audition process looks like. That's a whole different beast than just straight up acting.
Yeah. Yeah. So then you're here for, how long have you been here since you came back from your master's program?
I got back here in 2012 and I did a 1-year internship where basically I was just getting new headshots and figuring things out now that I've been back in town and going on auditions and stuff like that. So it pretty much kicked off in 2013, I would say. And then what happened is I got signed theatrically to the theatrical side of my agency. That would have been in June of this prior year. So I think that was 2014, and like the end of the summer, I got signed theatrically.
Got
Um, yeah, and then I got a manager in October
Now,
of
just going back
last
a
year.
little bit, what was the process of
Mhm.
getting an agent? Was it easy? Like, how
Yes.
did that happen? Like, it's just like, because people talk about like, oh,
Yeah.
just got an agent, and you're like, how? Like,
Yeah.
or
Well,
getting a good agent because
right, right. Well, I was definitely blessed in that manner because I did get a good agent and it was a complete miracle, I think, because initially I got a commercial agent. I requested a commercial agent by sending out, I got, if you go to Samuel French, you can get a list of all the agents that year. And so I got a straight up paper list of about like 18 pages full of agents, 200 and something agents. And I still have it where I wrote next to each one. I called every agent and asked them if they were looking for, talent. And then I would find out, oh, if they're looking for kids or something like that. But honestly, backstage.com has all that listed. It literally tells you next to the agent, like, and you can like filter it.
yeah.
So life is so much better now. But what I did is I sent out headshots, which was also expensive. And I actually included this awful, awful, awful cover letter that was like in the size of a postcard. And I'm pretty sure I know it had a rhyme on it, and it ended with something like, I'm something, I'm new, and I smell good too, with like a question mark. Like, I'm sorry you had to endure that, blah, blah, blah.
So
My name's Yvonne. And I was like, oh, I still have it just so I can remind myself that it's like miracles do happen. If I was able to get an agent off of that, so I sent it out. I sent it out to literally like 200, and I got two, not surprisingly, two responses. And one was like a school that they were pitching, and the other one was my agent, and she was like, "I need someone like you." My nationality is Black, and my dad's from Haiti, my mom's from Bolivia, so I'm Black and Latina, and but I speak Spanish fluently.
I love that.
Yes, a little mix, little morena. And so I speak Spanish fluently, and she needed someone who looked like me but could also be bilingual. So, because commercial is highly about your look, and things like that, like your skills. If you swim, if you ride horses or cycle or can teach yoga, things like that they need in commercials.
Yeah.
And so she signed me, and I was literally with her for a very long time, for almost 10 years, I would say, before signing on theatrical. And what happened is that she was with an agency for a very long time. And then in about 2013, she left to start her own agency with another woman, Nicole Dernestessian. They started FSE Talent, Firestarter Entertainment Talent. And so and so they started their own agency, but I didn't get signed on the theatrical side initially,
So you
which
were
was hard.
wait. So
Huh?
you were only with her commercially.
I was still with my original agent because she took the commercial side over, and that was it. She worked with Nicole, who took over the theatrical side.
Got it.
Right. And so I submitted to the theatrical side. but they said at the time they weren't, wasn't the right fit and stuff. So I would say it was kind of devastating. The only reason was because I had actually gotten friends signed to the commercial side of FSC previously, and they had already gotten signed to the theatrical side of FSC. So I was like, what? I was like, no, like I got them in and now they're moving past me. What am I doing with my life? Like, how actors are, those kind of things can be really hard
Yeah, especially
to deal
I feel
with.
like especially like in those like moments where like all you're focusing
Yes.
on is that one moment because you can't get past
Yeah.
it, and then you're like
Yeah.
it becomes your whole world, and then you look
Yeah.
back and you're like, it was really not a big deal, you know?
It was no. And it actually turned out to be a blessing because the year that I asked to be signed, I was getting married. And all the married women know,
Congrats.
like, that year is insane. You have no free time. You're trying to juggle work with meetings, with planning. Like, it can just be so stressful. And definitely my time was limited at the time, even with the manager that I had at the time. So what happened is that about a year after I had requested to go in with them, we went to one of the barbecues that the talent agency has, and my husband was actually talking to Nicole, and we were not talking about agent stuff. We were actually talking about her mom's hamburgers because she cooks every time, and they're fabulous, and and different random things, and then she was like, "Hey, you sent me a reel a while ago, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, I feel like I liked it. Send it to me again," because what she had done is what a lot of agents do is they kind of go through a season where they're full and then they will adjust their roster and then have availabilities. You know what I
Got
mean? Um, and so that's what she had done. And I'm glad I wasn't there before because I wouldn't have made the best
it.
impression, for adjustment time, I would say. Um, and so I was so happy I got to start once I was married, once I had free time. I had a great manager who would work with my schedule. Like it was just a perfect like timing situation. So I sent her my reel again, and within that week she had signed me on the theatrical side.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was great. But it did take some waiting and it did take some some humbling
Yeah.
on my end because you get to the party and you see all these people who are signed and talking about their theatrical auditions. You're just like, I want to be there. But, I was like, no, like, I know my moment is supposed to be there when it's supposed to be there. And
I know. So
no one's like taking
can
my
you tell
shine.
me how you personally like deal with that in those moments when it just seems like
I
you're
pray so hard. Me and God will like go. I think I did actually. I'm gonna be like straight legit and vulnerable. I went into the restroom because you're full of other actors, and it's hard. Like I wish I could be that very like. I think those actors exist in different moments because I've been that actor too, who's like, I'm great, I'm confident. Like, yeah, you just booked something, and I am completely super happy for you. Like I legitimately am happy for you at this moment. But if I'm in a bad moment and you've booked something, then I am fighting so hard to be happy for you because it's just it's human nature. I feel like so. Yes, I literally went into the restroom and I was like, God, I got to get myself together because I am not going to be that person who is just salty
Yes.
because other people are being successful. And I refuse to be that person. I don't want to be because what in the future, when I am successful, I want those people to be happy for me, and what do I look like over here side eyeing these people like, you got whatever it is that you got. I have to have faith and trust that what's for me is for me and nobody else. And that's something that's really been helpful is like, what's for me is for me. And I've seen it in the room several times where I was not prepared. And then all of a sudden, like I literally had an example of a girlfriend of mine I hadn't seen in years came to the same audition. We talked. And right before my audition for something I booked that I really wanted, she was like, "Hey, did you see the new sides?" Which I did not see at all.
No.
It was like a whole page and a half. And she was like, "Here, study these." And like it was such perfect like timing, and it was just honestly a blessing. I know it was. And I felt like that was for me. That role was for me. And God was like, "Here, I'm going to give you some help because you messed up on your sides, but
Oh.
you're going to be fine. This role is for you." And it was like I booked it. It was great. It was wonderful. And I know I wouldn't have if my friend hadn't been there. And she was happy for me. Like we ended up giving her free headshots because my husband's a headshot photographer. I was like, "You hooked me up, girl.
Oh.
Let me do something for you." So yeah. And I think you're going to have Jenna Chow on your podcast, and she talks about giving instead of like getting when it comes to networking and when it comes to kind of like lifestyle. Um, giving back. So that's what I wanted to do. Once she gave me those sides, I was like, let me give it back to you in some way, because it comes back around. But yeah, I think honestly for me, it's praying and just trusting and having faith. Like what's for me is for me. And I just got to keep pushing in my lane. And usually I notice like when someone else has booked something, I'll be like, oh, you know what? That was perfect for them. Like they've always wanted to be on that series or they've always wanted to be on that network. And it actually isn't my number one dream to be exactly where they are. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and my accomplishments tend to be right on point with what I love. Like the one that I booked that day was a video game, and it was Tom Clancy's The Division, and I got to be like one of the main people that shows up in the first series, and I'm like geared up, and it's like just right up my alley. Like I was in love with the role.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just moving past in whatever way. If you got to give yourself a pep talk, if that's what you do, then just figure out a way to remind yourself like nobody's stealing what's mine. I have stuff set aside for me. That's just how I live. I try to. Like I said, I'm not perfect, but I try to remind myself like what's for me is for me.
Yeah. No, I think that's the way to do it. It's just like because it can get nasty, right? Like you're out here for so long and
Yeah.
you're just like, when
Yes.
is my moment coming? And like you said, you see these people passing you, and I think that you have to find ways to take care of yourself, or if
Yeah.
you practice a faith, or it's just like something that you
Yeah.
can go to. I'm trying to think of it as like how I am in acting. It's like take the attention off of yourself, Crystal.
So good.
It's
That's a really good
it's
note.
it's it's not about you, and it's just like do what you can, like yesterday. Yesterday I
Yeah.
was at a callback for a commercial, and it was like, I don't know, I guess my first one. So I was like, I'm like trying to be like,
How
yeah, I'm like
exciting!
trying to be like cool about it, but it's like,
I'm cool. I'm
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah. But and it's funny because then my boyfriend later on is like, so are they gonna like tell you like if you got it or not?
I know.
And I'm like, you're so
Isn't
cute.
that so?
No.
I know. Are they going to tell you like whether or not they're going to? It's like I wish they would call me like, not this time, but we'll see you
Yeah,
next time.
but you still did good, and it's just like,
Yeah.
so like in that time, like I was just trying to take it all in and say, you know what, like any of these actors here are worthy of this. I don't know
That's
that
so
girl's story
good.
over there. Maybe
Yeah.
she's been in this office. This is her fifth callback. She hasn't booked anything. Little old me sitting here worried. So I'm trying to kind of like
That's so
just
good.
appreciate and be grateful for everyone and on their journey. I don't know. And you know what? I'm not
Yeah.
perfect. There's going to be times where I'll be bitter too.
Yeah.
I say
Yeah.
that
Where you're
now
like,
for
well,
the
this is
first
my
time.
fifth callback, so I know.
Yeah. Like, oh shit, pressure's on.
Yeah. No, it's true. You have to find out what works for you, and everybody has different things. I really like reading those stories about people like Amy Adams who booked stuff. Like for example, she was in a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks in Catch Me If You Can. Like you would assume after that, it's like boom, stardom, and she didn't work for a year after being in a movie with them. A year.
Damn.
And then she was able to book Enchanted after that. Like it, it like I love those stories. I love like the guy, one of the brothers. We all know the handsome brothers, like the one who plays Troy. Not, what is? I'm totally gonna mess up his name. He has a big hammer in the series. Where what are the names of those men? There's like the brothers who all act and they look so handsome. Um, Someone right now is like, how do you call yourself a nerd and you don't know the name of this guy
I know
right now?
someone's gonna be listening and screaming at you. It's that person.
I know. I know, I
Sorry,
know,
can't
I know,
help
I
you
know.
here.
But anyways, I'm gonna finish the story while I Google it. But
Go ahead.
um, but no, he talked about how he was ready to leave too. And he actually ended up staying, and that was the one where and he had kind of gotten into the role of like with the auditions, kind of like throwing them off. They weren't as important to him anymore because he was just like, man, you guys aren't gonna book me, you know what I mean? And they ended up booking him for that role because of how, you know, how just comfortable he was finally with not being so stressed out about his audition. yeah, it kind of almost takes you getting beaten down. So you're like, just get me in this room. I'm ready to go. Not bitter, but to a place where you're just like, okay, there's bigger things in life than this audition right now.
Yeah, like there's this
So,
balance, right? That like that an
yeah,
actor's mind, I mean, like it's really bizarre, right? Because it's like you have to
yeah,
kind of like have this where you are completely like you put your heart and soul, you craft all the beats, you do everything in the sides, for that audition. But then it's like you have to kind of go in there, be confident, but then it's like you don't want to feel needy. It's just like you have to like
yeah.
balance like all these.
There's so many things that you're juggling.
Yeah, it's like you have to, do it, be confident, say it, but then and then just walk out and almost just like be like,
Just let it,
yeah,
yeah.
literally let it go. And then it's like,
Yeah, I struggle with that. I'll be honest. I'm one of the people who struggles with that. Like, it takes me a good few minutes to I kind of just end up defaulting to going over it in my head. And I will say it's not always a bad thing to go over it.
yeah,
If you feel like you learned something. I think I did a commercial audition recently, and the way they had the setup, uh, with like what it was we were supposed to do, he ended up telling me like cheat out more than I was, kind of like leave the focus off of the person you're talking to, because of course we want to make sure the camera can see our faces at all times, even though you have someone else in the room with you. Um, and it was good. I mean, of course I know to cheat out, but in that situation, I was like, is this appropriate to cheat out? Because I'm slightly cheated, but you want me fully. So after that, I was like, okay, just whenever I go into the room, just basically in the rehearsal process, because we rehearsed, me and the other girl, go ahead and find moments for both of you guys to be cheating out fully. You know what I mean? I was like, I'll take that to heart in the future. It's something so simple. You feel like I've been in grad school. I know to cheat out, but you just have to be reminded of certain things sometimes. So
yeah, because in the moment you think you're cheated out, but then what they see on the camera, it's like
yeah,
they want more. They don't see as much of your eyes or whatever. So it's like
right.
you have to be,
So you just find a way to justify it and then do
yeah,
it.
yeah, you have to be just able to just take those notes, roll with it, and then keep it
Mhm.
moving. No, yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Oh, and that guy's name is Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth.
It's Thor,
Yes,
not
I know who you're
Troy.
talking
I
about.
was like, it has
10 minutes
forward. He's
later, we
instructed
got
it to.
it.
10 minutes later. I'm more on X-Men guys than all these other guys. The nerds are shaking their heads like, I have no time
No
for you.
time. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think you had mentioned
Go ahead.
the manager, how I'd gotten my manager, because I know we talked about agents.
Yes.
The manager part actually ended up coming, if we could go back to that, just because I remember
Yeah, go ahead.
I
Go
had
ahead.
talked to you previously when we were just having a normal conversation about it. And I felt like a friend, a girl at Hand of God actually was talking to me about what she used. And I feel like that's so helpful when you help other people, because you don't know like how that's going to change that person's journey, you know, um,
Mm-hmm.
by giving something back. So for me, she was saying how she had put on her tagline for the emails that she sent to managers, um, formally, so like the word formal, but formally
Yeah.
trained Indian actress, and that was her tagline. And she said she got so many more hits than before, like at least responses of even like, hey, we're not looking right now, or we're, you know,
Yes, yes, yes. So
yeah,
basically we were talking about how you had an agent or you have a theatrical
hmm,
agent now, and then how you wanted to progress and you felt like it was
hmm,
time in your career to also get a
yeah.
manager to like just push you, I guess, more in that envelope of maybe your brand.
Yes, yes, and get me into like some bigger rooms, because I felt like it would be like a tag team. Like, okay, you have your connections that you're bringing to the table for me. You're having yours that you're bringing to the table. I don't mind paying the extra 20% to, if you get me something as my manager.
Definitely,
Um,
definitely. So what you did to get in the room, I mean, to basically get some of
yeah,
these meetings was you were emailing.
email. Yeah, I did email because I didn't have the budget to do the
Hey, but that's good to know
headshot.
because I mean, damn it,
Yeah.
it's a lot of money to. print out
Yeah,
headshots
it
and
is.
200.
And it can be just as effective. Like, honestly, because like, it'd be different if you were sending your headshots to possibly like a casting director, because they have a folder, a nice little happy folder that's like, these are people I need to see in the future. If you think about a talent agent, they're only keeping the headshots of the people they cast. So those things are more than likely, for the majority of the people you talk to that don't want to cast you, they're just going to go in the trash. And so unless they decide to hold on to it, like, I could possibly contact her in the future, let me put her in this folder. So I feel like, honestly, when it comes to submitting for agents and managers, the most economical choice is the emailing, because they're going through emails every day, they're going to see it, won't get lost in the mail or anything
But
like that.
the way I thought that your approach was effective was
Hmm.
how you used the tagline. So the tagline you meant was
Yeah.
the like, what is that called?
Formally trained.
No, but what's that called
Uh
in the email? It's like your the subject line. So in the
the
subject
subject line.
line, when you're sending the email, you have put this tagline that you thought that, some specific
Yeah.
adjectives that represent you.
Yes, that represented me. So it wasn't, because when you send the headshot, it's just your face, and that might work for a commercial. But when it's TV theatrical, you have some more content that you need, that they're looking for, I assume. And so yeah, I used her subject line of formally trained, because we both where we went to school, formally trained, and I put bilingual Black actress, because those two words together don't usually go together, bilingual and
Yeah.
also African American, or bilingual and Black, uh, unless we're in Miami or something. But usually out here, you don't have people who look like me who can speak Spanish. So I was like, what do I do differently, or what do I do that I believe is special? And then we put that in the tagline. And what can make the money? Like, if you have someone who can be in two fields, like in the Spanish lane and also the English lane, then that's something that's profitable. So whatever, your subject line is, you can look at it as a business standpoint. Like, what can I put on here that they see dollar signs around? Because you're a brand. It goes back to you being a brand, and you want to make money too.
Mm.
So it's totally fine to agree with them that we both want to make money. And so yeah, I put formally trained bilingual Black actress in there, and that I was able to. Jonah's really good at talking about. Boomerang is the system that I use, in order to look if people have read it. So you can see how many people have read it. You can see how many people have clicked on your links. You can see, like,
Ooh, that's good to know.
they give you a report, and my report was very good, as to how many opens I got and how many clicks I got, and multiple clicks too. If they click on your link, then it could possibly be that they've sent the email to someone else in the department, in the agency, like another agent. They're like, hey, check her out. And then that person clicks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was nice to see that report. It was good. And then also what I did is, this part was really helpful. And I told you I'm going to be doing like YouTube tutorials, so I'm definitely going to have to put this one up there. But I went to IMDb Pro, and I looked at co-stars, and the co-stars are pretty much where I'm at right now. I'm a co-star, as far as like what I was building in my resume at the time. So I went to all the co-stars and things like NCIS that need a bunch of co-stars, or the newest movies. I think Bad Moms was out right there. So I went to like, what are the co-star or the principal, roles in that. And then I looked on IMDb Pro. You can find out who reps them. And so what I did is I actually used them in a line of basically saying like, hey, congratulations on, we'll call him Joe Schmo or whatever, was one of the actors that I looked up, and I looked up his agent. Congrats on Joe Schmo's, booking of Bad Moms. I see that you've actually been getting them a lot of work, and I know that we could do the same, something along those lines of, and then just a tag of like, this is what I recently co-starred. I recently have a co-star in Hand of God that's coming out with Ron Perlman. Would love to meet with you, and then just included headshot and resume. Super simple, super easy. I also put that I'm fluent in Spanish. It's just like a quick little sentence about myself, and I got so many more responses than I've ever gotten before, because I have like looked for a manager previously a year before and got maybe like one response out of like 50 emails or something. This one was about like 25% at least responded by saying like, we're not looking right now, we'll keep you in mind, or something along those lines. And then I booked my liberation management manager out of it. So it was
Wow.
good. Yeah, and it was funny because when I got to the meeting with them, they were like, I forget who I used. Maybe we'll call him Daniel or something. They were like, "So then, do you know Daniel?" And I was like, no." I was straight up with them. I was like, "No, actually, I saw that you guys got him on Scandal, and that's a show that I would love to be on. That is good for my brand, and so I reached out to you guys." And they're like, "Oh, that's good." So that might actually work as a little side thing for you, where they might actually think you're referred by or you're a friend of, even though I didn't actually say that. I just said, congratulations, I saw that you booked this and this for this client.
Yeah. And then by the time you're already at the meeting, I mean, you were so
Yeah, who
honest, but
cares?
you were probably very sincere. So, I mean, they're like, well, she's here anyway. And like,
Yeah.
like,
They're probably like, well, at least she's business savvy.
holy crap. I mean, but that's so good. And, like, this attests to like when people say, like, oh, like, what is this person doing? Like, why are they
Hmm.
getting represented or why are they booking and I'm not, and
Yeah.
I think it's so good to hear like the very specific things that you have done.
Yeah, it can be really helpful. I know when that woman, her name is I think her last name is Dali. But now she's on my goodness, my voice. Now she's actually a recurring guest star or possibly a series regular on being not being married on Jane the Virgin. And she said it in passing, but it on my end it completely benefited my journey because I was able to use what she shared with me to keep going on mine. So I feel like it's super helpful. Like I always will
Yeah.
refer people to my
And then
agents if they're
tell us
looking.
what she had said to you. What was the specific thing that she said to you?
Well, what she said was just when she found out, when I mentioned to her, we were just having craft services or whatever. And I mentioned to her that that's what I was looking for. I was looking for a manager. And she's like, oh, let me tell you what really worked for me. And she showed me her headline of her email, and it was the formerly trained
Yeah.
Indian actress. And like, it didn't take her any time to share, but she could have easily just, finished
Yeah.
her
And didn't you say,
granola bar.
no, that's awesome. And didn't you say she also like sent postcards like with that as well, like to like the Jane the Virgin office?
Oh,
Was that
no,
her?
no. So I think that was me.
Oh, that was you.
Yeah, what I did is I actually I use that as a platform anytime I can try to reach out. So I'm really big on like keeping connections with casting directors that have booked you. So I have an Excel spreadsheet that I started when I first started going out on auditions, and it has the casting director, like their name, what I came in for, like what role they saw me as. Um, it also shows the production company or whatever, and then just a little note about maybe what happened, if I booked it, if I didn't, if I got a callback. It's just a huge spreadsheet that I have. And then what I did is I made postcards once I booked Hand of God with my headshot on them, and just like I paid like $5 or $10 on Fiverr, fiverr.com, to have someone create it for me. And it came out really beautifully, where it said like, Yvonne Jones recently booked the Hand of God or something, you know what I mean? Or
Yeah,
is
and I
going to be
saw
seen on
those.
Hand
They
of
were they look
God.
really good.
Yeah, she did a great job for like, I think it was like $15. So I sent those out to there's castingabout.com, which is fabulous for knowing. It can show you all of the casting directors that are currently casting, and it actually gives you labels. So on my YouTube, I was like 5 websites that you have to have, and one of them is definitely Casting About because they're so up to date. And you go to LA, you go to the LA branch, and it shows you all of them, and it actually makes the labels for you. It'll delete anybody who doesn't have their any casting directors who don't have their address listed, but it's still kept like 220. And what I did is I looked for any of the just like control find, like I just kept that label sheet on my computer and put my Excel sheet on there. And I just like went through my Excel sheet and looked to see if it popped up um, on any of the labels. So then what I did is I put a little sticker, like a clear sticker on that postcard. And I wrote a little note that was like, hey, thank you so much for bringing me in for the Carl's Jr. commercial. Or, oh, it was so great to book such and such, this is what I've been up to since then. And just something that was personal to those people because postcards are less expensive than the letters. So I was like, I don't want to have to make letters for all the casting directors that I've seen. I'll just use these postcards and just write a little something specifically for casting directors that I've seen. And for the ones that I haven't, I'm just sending a postcard that says, hey, this is me, an introduction, and I am also booking Hand of God as a co-star. Here's my representation if you guys want to reach out, kind of thing. I didn't actually say that, but that's what the postcard indicates by having a picture of myself, my representation, what I've booked on the front with a nice, like, you know, digital art that she created for me. Yeah, so it was really effective because actually Jason LaPadura from who casts Code Black, he called me in and he was like, oh, Yvonne St. Jones. Yeah, I remember your postcard. And I was like, that's so great.
That's awesome.
So it definitely does work, and it's great to send postcards. I'm gonna send the leftovers that I have again actually now because it's been a few months since I shot it, and now the season is finally out. So I'm just gonna do another fell swoop again with the new casting directors that I've met with, and just all the ones that are casting from Casting About.
That's so good.
Yes.
That's so good. So good, so good. And I was just gonna say, right? So you're doing all of this stuff, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
you're working it, and all of these great things are happening. How do you feel in those times in between, right? Like when there are those dead air.
Those lulls.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It can, of course, like I said, it can be challenging, but like, for example, there's not really a lull right now, but there's somewhat of a lull. And so, um, I'm using it to finish shooting this, little short that me and my friends had written a while back that I've been taking forever to finish shooting. So me and my husband, well, my husband has a production company, so I've kind of like married up in the acting world, I would say,
Yeah.
because I can get like free headshots and reels and stuff. But super easy nowadays for all of us to do our own things, and you just buy like maybe one of those lights and then get yourself invest in a camera or even iPhone. The newest ones are really clean. Get a little holster for that thing. So we're able to make our own content very easily now.
Mhm.
And so I'll like basically try to keep myself creating. I'll be the first to say that I up to this point I haven't been the best on that. And I'm very much trying to improve on that because YouTube, besides just being a place you can showcase shorts or things like that, it makes you money if you monetize your ads. I mean, if you include ads in whatever it is you're showing, like it can make you some side money, and who doesn't need that to, like, if you do workshops, attend a workshop or get some new headshots or whatever you want to do, you know? So right now I'm focusing on updating my headshots with my straight hair.
Okay.
Um, and then also, finishing that short. And then I have a really great, accountability person, which I super recommend. Accountability groups are like friends and other actors and stuff, and you guys just meet up and brainstorm on what you guys can be creating or doing or working on. So we're going to be talking about a possible web series that we want to make that's within our brand again, but that we can create to get other people to look at us in the way that they should. It's kind of like, oh, I need somebody who is doing exactly what they're doing, and we're making it easy for them because they see us doing it. You know what I mean? So we're working on some content right now, and I think that's a good way to preoccupy your time. And doing things that are outside of acting are huge. Being with friends just because you want to hang out with your friends. And I teach Shakespeare to students, they get my nerves sometimes, but I love them, my high school students, because it is always very satisfying and wonderful when they succeed and you're putting into something else, someone else besides yourself. Like you said, take the attention off of yourself sometimes, and life goes a lot faster because you're not dwelling on what you don't have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it makes the picture a lot bigger than, because life is life, and it's definitely not just about like winning an Oscar, which I have to remind myself about. You're here for definitely something bigger than that. So keeping yourself reminded about that by maybe like if you go to church and have church groups and youth groups and hanging out with other people or just friends in general, um, you know, that's always helpful in the lulls, and creating your own stuff and learning and training and going to school and taking your classes so that you're not rusty when the opportunity does pop up is of course huge.
Yeah. It's so funny hearing you say all
Mm-hmm.
this stuff, right? Because it's like, it's normal, right? Because we're like, as an actor, you're like trying to balance like just
Mm-hmm.
normal life, friends, and then like
Yeah.
acting, and then like your business side, and then
And
like,
your
yeah,
husband.
yeah, and like trying to just make money just to survive. And it's normal, but it's
Man,
actually like, if you think about it, it's like that's more than enough to just keep you busy to always move forward.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. And being kind to yourself. Like I have to remind myself all the time. My husband likes to say this isn't a sprint, it's a marathon, and I like hate hearing it. But I made a wall now with like anytime I book something. So I recently booked, like I said, the Lifetime movie. And so I took the call sheet and I just stuck it on my wall with
Mm.
how much money they paid me on a little post-it. And also I put like pictures of things that I want to do, like go back to Paris to visit and just all this kind of stuff. And like any accomplishments, like if I got to a ABC lot, I literally have a book that has all of my parking passes because within like a few months with my new management, I was able to get onto Paramount lot for an audition, ABC, NBC, like a bunch of these lots I've never, ever been on. And I was like, if I don't acknowledge that this is an accomplishment, even though I didn't book, like maybe I didn't book any of those. I'm trying to I think I might have booked one, but even if there's like 6 parking passes that I didn't book, I put them in a little journal that way I can look a year back and be like, man, I would have killed to get on these lots. But now it's like, oh yeah, if we don't acknowledge it, it'll be like, oh yeah, I'm just going back to the ABC lot because I have a callback, or it's like, dude, this is an accomplishment for you. Like, and how we said that one time too, it's an accomplishment to get into the room. They see thousands and thousands of faces on those little, on Actors Access, and they only call in like less than 100 usually. And so to even get in the room is huge. To get a callback, like you have a callback, that's
I
huge,
know, yeah.
you know. And I think sometimes we forget that because it's like if I don't book, it's not. I haven't done
Yeah, we
anything with
put
my
so
life.
much more weight on the result than the journey.
Yeah, yeah, and you have to give yourself credit that and grace and stuff because that's necessary, man. Because they say like overnight people who it takes 10 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah.
In Hollywood, like you're grinding, and then people just think like, "Whoa, that must have just taken like a day." It's like, nah, bro, I've been in here for a minute.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. I think that it's just like what you said. It's just being grateful for the process, grateful for all
Mm,
these little steps, like that are actually weighed so much, like a year
yeah.
ago you couldn't get any of those auditions on Paramount or
No.
Universal, and then now it's like, look at me just walking on the lot.
Yeah.
Here's my
Just walking
pass.
on the
Got
lot.
my parking
I
pass.
always take a selfie when I'm there. I'm just like, I take a selfie and I send it to myself. I have a email folder actually that's called Acting Inspiration in my
I
Gmail.
love that.
And I just stick it in there because I know one day I'm going to be stressed out and bawling my eyes out because I haven't booked something, or I'm just like, what am I doing with my life? And I need to like look at my progress. Like you've been doing stuff. And I also do this thing that I love. Um, I make a playlist that's called Don't Tell Me What I Can't Do. And then it has like the little muscle arm emoji or whatever. And it's like really just songs that are motivational for me when those times hit, because they're going to hit, man. Like, you're not going to book something that you actually thought you would book. Like, if we're going to be honest, like, yeah, we have these wonderful times where we're altruistic and it's just for me if it's for me. But there's those times when it is not like computing
Yep.
and you are just devastated,
Yep.
and you have to have something to combat those times, and you just have to figure out what works for you. If it is a journal, then go back to your journal. If you need a wall up to come home to that shows where you've been and what you've done, then do that. For me, like as for most people, music just like reads right into my soul. So if I'm like, do not start listening to like Corinne Bailey Rae because she's wonderful, but she can be depressing if you're depressed, or like some Sade or something. But I have like songs that I just like try really hard to go to and just like sit and chill for a second and breathe and like remind myself, this is not the end of the world. Like the world does not revolve around Hollywood. It's much bigger than this, and you will be successful. And if people have given you like really good words, like I've just complimented you. I went on the set that I told you about with Tom Clancy. I don't know why, but one of the producers afterwards came up to me and she had the kindest things to say. She was like, "You have everything you need to make it in this." Like she literally said, "You have everything you need to make it
What
out there."
set was this on?
And this was on the set for Tom Clancy, The Division. It's a video
Oh,
game, and
yes,
they
yes,
had a
yes.
series that
Uh-huh.
matched it, and it was like my dream role, and I wanted to be there, and that's when I said
And
like I
she
felt like
came
it
up
was for
to you
me.
and said that. Oh,
She talked to me for like literally 5 minutes and was like just speaking life into me, man. She was just like, you know, you did an amazing job today, because they killed off my role within the first scene, but they initially had wanted it to go longer.
oh God.
And she was like basically wanted to talk to me and say like, you were amazing today, and they really liked my work. And she just, man, like I don't even think she realized how huge that was for me. But when I left, I recorded on my little voice recorder on my iPhone. I recorded like, this is what she said, and this is how it made me feel, and this is what happened today, and blah blah blah, because I legit, when I'm going through it, will sometimes find that recording and just play it in my car. Like, someone told you, who sees and produces work, that you have everything you need to make it. So stop doubting yourself, and stop like assuming it's like the end of the world because this one role wasn't for you. Like, something's coming your way, and it's going to be for you, and you got to get past this point if you're going to make it there. So let's figure out how to do that, you know? And then spouses are really helpful for that too. I'll be like, I'm so devastated. And he'll just like,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
his,
And if a
his
spouse, just
montage of like words.
some support system.
Yeah. Yeah. Spouse, or mom, or, you know, somebody who, you know, you can go to, who's heard this all before and isn't upset. And they're like, I know, I understand this is hard, but let's get you out of here with love together, you know? Or just do something else, like a girls' night out.
Oh my God. You totally just fed my soul. I swear.
Oh, good. I'm so happy.
Yeah. No, seriously. It's like, and I really hope that when people listen to this, they're going to feel that way too, because I just think that
Yeah.
you do really bring something special. And I think
Oh,
that
thank you.
I want people to hear that and know that for themselves,
Yeah,
and it's,
it's so true.
and it's just like, just going back to just being grateful for the journey, having gratitude towards yourself
Hmm.
in the process, in those moments where you're in
Yeah.
the bathroom crying your eyes out because
Yeah,
hello,
like
that
that's what
shit
you
happens.
need.
It does. And you know what? But those are the moments that you want to hear about, that you're not alone. It's
Yeah.
okay. And you will,
Yeah, we're all going through it, man.
yeah, and you will succeed. And I'm
Yeah.
so excited about your journey, and that I'm in
Thank
this
you.
process with
Well, I'm
you.
excited for yours. I remember I was gonna this one thing like really helped me out was there's like a clip on a TED Talk of a lady who's talking about self-confidence, and she showed how, what's her name? These two singers, these two top singers, Jill Scott, was about to go up after Erica Badu, and a reporter asked like, "Okay, you're going up after Erica Badu. Are you nervous?" And she was laughing, and she was like, first of all, she was like, "Have you seen my set?" So she was like super confident, of course. But then she said, for clarity, she was like, "Honestly, there's so much strength and power in Erica and in what she does, and I feel like people in general just have a certain strength that's unique to them." She was like, "But she's like, I my strength and what I do could never compare to hers. Like, I that could never compare to what she does, but then again, hers could never compare to mine." And I think that's important for us to recognize. Like, yeah, we can give props to other people because we should. Like, when I get in a room and I start feeling intimidated, I have to be like, it's okay to give that person props. That person's gonna go in there and do them like I could never do them.
Mm.
Like, they're just going to go in there and they're going to do exactly what they know to do, the way they know how to do it. And I could never try to do it that way. But I'm about to walk in there after her, and I'm about to do me in a way that she could never do me. And I think that really helps balance the scales, because sometimes we get on one or the other, like, oh, I have to be super humble and she's so good and blah, 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 you know, or, oh, I'm like so bomb and all these people should just like walk out now because I got this. And that's fine. You can have Kanye confidence if you want to. If that works for you, have that Kanye confidence. But for me, balancing the scale makes me that much more comfortable in the room, because I can give myself credit, but I can also give credit where I know it's due. Those people who are there doing it have every right to be there too, and they're going to kill it in their own way, but they're not going to be able to kill it like I'm about to kill it. So I think that helps ease things up in the room sometimes.
All right. I hope you guys had some laughs and also some insight from Yvonne from that conversation. It was a lot of fun. You can check her out on IMDb at imdb.me/Yvonne Sanat Jones. She also has a website that's www.yvonnesanatjones.com. You can follow her on Instagram at Yvonne Sanat and also on Twitter, Yvonne Sanat. And she also has her YouTube channel and she posts videos and inspiration and tips on for actors. So make sure to check her out. The link is going to be in the show notes below. So click on that, check her out, tell her that you heard from her from the Rise to Triumph podcast with Crystal. So yeah, guys. Again, you can check out the website risetotriumph.com for all the show notes, all the links, and see you guys on the next one. Have a good day.